The San Jose Sharks are dealing with injuries and yet another losing streak, but there is some hope for the future. JD Young of Locked On Sharks is here to talk about that and what to expect at the trade deadline next on the Locked On NHL Podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Gil Martin here, and welcome everybody to the Monday edition of the Locked On NHL Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On NHL your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you get new episodes as soon as they drop. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Super Bowl 59 is here, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. New customers can bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. It is my pleasure to welcome back to the show a familiar face and voice for Locked On NHL listeners and viewers, JD Young of Locked On Sharks. And JD, another losing streak right now for the Sharks. What is it, 6 in a row as we record this episode? But injuries, obviously, a big part of that. What are some of the reasons for this team's inconsistency and struggles as of late?
I think for the Sharks right now, it comes down to a lot to goaltending, right? Sharks, of course, traded Mackenzie Blackwood beginning of December. Askarov came in, the Sharks' future number one goalie that they traded for this offseason from the Preds. Looked great. Then he got sick, lost a lot of weight, and has not looked the same the last couple of games. Alexander Georgiev, who the Sharks got from the Colorado Avalanche, as part of that deal. He has been dreadful lately. And then Vitek Vanacek, who took a puck to the face in mid-December, hasn't played since. So the goaltending issues have really been a big reason for the Sharks' struggle. And you compound that with a not good defensive group other than Jake Wallman. Like, this defense has really struggled to provide any sort of consistency. They struggle with just getting the puck out of their own zone. Those things compounded, bad defense and bad goaltending usually leads to a lot of losses. And the Sharks have now lost 6 in a row. So yeah, I think those are kind of the two big things right now for San Jose.
Talk to me about the injuries. I know they have been an issue for this team, especially on the blue line.
Yeah, it has been kind of a rotating cast. Jake Wallman missed about 7 games there, and since his return just hasn't quite looked Jake Wallman that we've seen from the beginning of the season, where he was easily the Sharks' best defenseman and has already set career highs and points for the Sharks. But Jan Rudo just went on IR. They've been having a kind of a rotating cast of guys kind of coming and going for them throughout the entire roster. But I think when Wallman kind of gets back to speed, hopefully we should start to see a little bit better performance because he is such a big piece of it. Shifting to the forward group, that's where you've seen a ton of injuries as of late. And it's mostly kind of bottom 6 guys for San Jose. But when you start kind of pulling more and more, then it really kind of tests your organizational depth. Nico Sturm, who's a huge guy, especially on the penalty kill, fourth line center, he's been out with the lower body injury. It isn't expected to be back for a couple weeks. Same thing with Klim Kostin. Ty Dellandrea took a nasty hit last week against the Preds. He's out for a while now. And of course, Logan Couture, who's been out for the entire season. Again, it's just the bottom 6 here where the Sharks are now having to kind of start playing more AHL veteran type of guys, and it's just really testing their depth right here.
Talk to me about Macklin Celebrini. It's been great to watch him develop. Give me some good news here.
Celebrini has been amazing, of course. He's starting to continue to earn more and more of a bigger role with the Sharks. Started actually over the weekend playing on the penalty kill for the first time, where we see, of course, he's such a standout in the defensive end, especially at his age of 18. But Celebrini just continues to be Macklin Celebrini. He's been playing with Tyler Toffoli and William Eklund. That line has been the Sharks' best line over the past couple of weeks and has provided a bunch of offense for them. Celebrini now leading the NHL among rookies for goal scorers, and despite, having played way less games than Matvei Michkov. I know the race right now is Lane Hudson is kind of the flavor du jour right now of Calder, and I know Dustin Wolf is getting some attention. I still think it's Celebrini's trophy to lose, and especially if he finishes strong. And if he's anywhere near a point per game as he is right now, I think it's going to be really hard for voters to kind of ignore that, especially with how hard it is for 18-year-old players to be a point per game producer. So
how about some of the other young players, up and coming prospects? Give a Sharks fan some reason for hope here.
I think right now most Sharks fans are really, really excited about Will Smith. A couple weeks ago, he got benched versus the Wild. Just a poor performance, as you would expect from a 19-year-old kid, right? A couple turnovers led to goals for the Wild. Since then, he has really found his game. Sharks have played him with veteran Mikael Granlund and Fabian Zetterlund, and I think that line has really started to kind of produce lately. Will Smith currently on a 4-game point streak, has had 2 goals and 3 assists during that time, but you just see the confidence and with his game, and his playmaking is outstanding. And I think for him, it was learning what I got away with at Boston College, I can't always get away with in the NHL, but I think he's learning that balance of what can I get away with and what is going to make me a special player in the future. And he's starting to kind of find that balance, find his confidence. And he looks like he's going to have a really strong second half here for the Sharks.
We are starting to get closer to the trade deadline. I mean, we are still about 5-6 weeks away, but you've got that 4 Nations tournament in the middle, so you have a 10-day break. What do you expect the Sharks are going to do? And which players on the Sharks do you think will be made available at the trade deadline?
I think, it's a lot of the kind of usual names that we've heard from San Jose. I think Mikael Granlund is the big name available. He has 1 year left on his $5 million deal. Would be a perfect kind of third-line center for a team looking to really add there. He's playing way more minutes for San Jose, but a guy who can play on the power play, play on the penalty kill, is a good facilitator, solid in his own zone. I think Mikael Granlund is a guy that Sharks are going to have to make a decision on if they want to try to potentially extend him, or if they don't, I think it's going to be try to get what you can for him. You also have some of the defensive pieces like Cody Ceci, who's on the last year of his deal. He's third line pairing on most teams, but a lot of playoff experience, is going to be solid in his own zone. He's a potential guy there for the Sharks to potentially move. Also, wouldn't be surprised if Mario Ferraro is available. He's got 2 years left on his $3.25 million deal, but the Sharks have made it known, if you blow us away with a deal, we're more than willing to to part with Mario Ferraro. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's available and if something happens, but I still think he probably still sticks around for the Sharks. So those are probably the big pieces that San Jose has left. They might move guys like Nico Sturm, who's going to be a solid 4th liner for a team who's good penalty killer, good on the draw. Nothing exciting like that, but I think their big move was Mackenzie Blackwood earlier this year.
And what do you think they're looking to get in return at this point?
I think it's continue to stockpile draft assets. They really had a massive chest of pieces, draft pieces that they've used to pick players like Sam Dickinson and Igor Shimoleski. They've used a lot of their draft over the past couple years, but I think trying to kind of restock that, or guys who are getting close to making their NHL debut or making an NHL impact. Last year, they traded Anthony Duclair and they got Jack Thompson from the Lightning. He's a guy who's kind of played in the AHL, played some NHL games. Pieces like that who maybe are kind of blocked or don't have a pathway with their current teams, but on San Jose, we have plenty of opportunities to earn playing time. I think those are going to be the kind of moves that Mike Grier looks to do.
Well, JD, I know you'll cover this every step of the way between now and the end of the season. Why don't you tell our viewers and our listeners where they could find the podcast and where they could find you on social media?
Of course, you can find the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts and watch on YouTube as well. Follow the show, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Locked On Sharks. You can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at My Fry Hole.
All right, JD, thanks so much.
Always a pleasure, Gil.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Super Bowl 59 is here. One game, two teams, endless possibilities. And there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action. With live betting all game long, you can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. The live betting feature lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field, and the app is super easy to navigate. Plus, knowing that you can place a $5 bet and potentially win $200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl, that's the icing on the cake. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Just bet $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, official partner of Super Bowl 59.